I recently got these Zamberlan hiking boots. Really like them. When I got them, someone had given me a brand new combination boot treatment pack from Lowa. I was going to get some Lowa boots, but they just had too many little leather details on the side and stuff. And so anyway, somebody got me that stuff, and I thought, okay, well, whatever boots I get, I'm going to try this stuff right here. And this is the Lowa Creme, which you pre-treat the boot with, and then the Water Stop, which is supposed to be a waterproofing material. And I want to show you how this works. I'll admit that I really didn't like it so much, so I got the Zamberlan waterproofing cream. When I tried this after trying the Lowa cream, I really like this. So I'm not really here to criticize or judge the Lowa, but I'm going to show you how they work, and then you can decide for yourself. I'm going to be using these Keens as my demonstration boot because after my last hike, I treated these Zamberlans with the Hydrobloc, and so it's kind of a false test in a way. The Lowa material I have never used on these Keens, nor have I used a Zamberlan. These, since the beginning, have been coated with snow seal. To let you know the condition of these Keens, they have been used for a long time, many miles on them. The concern is that when you soak the leather with an oily sort of treatment like snow seal, that it will loosen the adhesive. These are not stitched as far as I know, so the adhesive here is really critical for a boot like this. These are not expensive boots. So I like snow seal. I've used it for a long time, and I had some, and I put so many miles in these boots, and the snow seal has not broken the adhesive bond between the leather and the sole for these boots. The other reason that I'm using these Keens for this demonstration is that they haven't been treated for a while. I'm going to treat one half with the Lowa and then the other half with the Zamberlan, and I want you to just see it on your own, what it does and how it acts. The first thing that you want to do is make sure that the boots are clean. Now, these Keens are clean. They have been treated, and so it's not going to be probably the best demonstration, but I just want you to see how the stuff goes on. If it were just raw leather, then you'd see how it acts with a brand new set of boots. But so it's a little bit of a contaminated test, I'll give you that, but it isn't really about doing the treatment today in this video, but rather just how the stuff applies. So that's kind of why I have this blue tape up here. Take the laces off. The interesting thing about both of these products is that they are both water-based, and you can apply them to the leather whether the leather is wet or dry. And the one thing you're going to need is a rag to apply the material. They also use sponge. So this one's going to come with a sponge. You're going to see that. And then also you're going to need a brush, particularly for the Zamberlan. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. I did try this Lowa material, both the cream and the Water Stop, 2 coats of that. And the last hike I did, I was going up a ravine that had some seeps. So it was very steep on either side of this ravine, and so I had to walk through some seeps that were probably only maybe this deep on the boot. It did not bead. For me, using the snow seal for decades and decades, I like seeing water bead and not soak into the leather, but with this Lowa material, the water definitely soaked the leather. It's like a boat to me. I want the water to stay outside. So anyway, I just let you know that with the Zamberlan product, after I coated it with this, the water definitely beads up on this. One other thing too, before I show the demonstration, is that this does darken the leather as well as this, but when you're treating the leather after you've hiked, there is scrapes and scuffs. These are pretty new boots, but the first time I used this material, the toes were scuffed. I mean, I'm crawling on my hands and knees sometimes. Just lots of rocks. So the toes especially were very scuffed in these Zamberlans. And I went back one more time because you can see I've been using this stuff, and did the treatment on these boots with the Lowa material as per instructions. And it did sort of look like it, helped the scuffs and the scratches a little bit, but not a whole lot. It wasn't really like it concealed them. So I was like, I was just really not comfortable with using this Lowa stuff. I just thought, man, I don't know what this stuff is doing, but I got Zamberlan's. I'm going to try their product. So I got this. So after I cleaned the boots and let them dry for a couple weeks or whatever, I thought, I'm going to order this stuff, and then it came. And then I tried the Zamberlan Hydrobloc on the boot leather, went out hiking again, and you can see that they're this stuff leaves kind of like a gloss, a little bit of a sheen to the leather, which is great because they come that way. And so Zamberlan's really staying very consistent with the way they like to keep their leather looking. So yeah, scratched them up, scuffed them up and stuff. Very, very rocky, a lot of dust and dirt. You're hiking, so the boots are going to take a lot of abuse. With the Hydrobloc on, the boots cleaned so much better. It was just like night and day. They just washed right off. I won't get into cleaning these boots was a hassle. I mean, look at the sole on these things. Like, gosh, cleaning all the dust and the dirt and the crap out of these soles is pretty intense, but it's a price that you have to pay for really good grip, and these do grip. So anyway, you can see the concealment on these toes is just far superior to what the Lowa was providing. The concealment of these scratches and just the treating of the leather beneath this, I guess what you would call factory surface, this almost kind of like tried to restore the surface of the leather as it came from the factory. So I was really, really impressed with this material. The cream that the Lowa comes up with is supposed to treat the leather like, leather conditioner. There is a sponge tip to this tube, and you just squeeze it out, and then you rub it in like this. And you can see that it's treating the leather here. You kind of squeeze it around a little bit like this, and kind of put a little bit more in areas like these seams, like these tongues. If you're like me, your boots are going to get wet. So you kind of squeeze it in here like this, and you can see that it's soaking in almost immediately because this is very, very watery. This is almost like hand lotion to me. You can see it doesn't really have an oiliness to it. If you put it on your skin, it's going to be just like hand lotion. So here is the idea for both of these, that you're going to want to hit the penetrations around your eyelet holes. Where these are going into the leather, these are holes in the leather. So you really want to get the material in this area and down, just force it in there. So you make sure that those penetrations are absolutely saturated. And then these seams, you can see that there's folds in the tongue like you probably have on your hiking boots, and you're going to want to work it down, 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 down there. Everywhere that there is a stitch, that is a hole in the leather. So you can see how I'm brushing it in here and making sure this is really, really conditioned. This is just conditioner. So this is not, according to Lowa, waterproofing at all. The water spray, water block spray, I should call it a water spray. You're going to see in a second that it is water spray. When you get done with the cream, just kind of wipe it off a little bit and just, get it so that it's okay. They recommend that you let it dry. I'm not really concerned with all of the instructions right now. I just want you to see how this stuff is. Twist this all the way around, and then you spray like this. And you can see how it just runs off. This is supposed to be waterproofing, and it's just like water. And so it's got a fancy smell to it, and it smells pretty good. But you really don't have to do a lot with the brush here because it's just running. it's just like water, man. I mean, it's just flowing into all those seams and stuff. So you don't really have to do too much to make it happy. It's just going to go in there. So then it goes into that, really, to me, this critical joint you want to protect down at the bottom. So I'm just kind of brushing it in there to smooth it out. And so I do have this rag, and so I'm just going to buff it off. In this case, because it's so watery, I'm more or less drying it off. So anyway, that's the way that works. And then when I'm done with the spray, then I return this little spray lock, trigger lock, to the lock position. Okay, that's the Lowa. So I'm going to use this side for the Zamberlan. This is so much like Snow Seal. I was really surprised that it was water-based. It says water-based cream, but it's not as viscous as Snow Seal. Snow Seal is a really hard paste. If you've ever used it, you kind of have to preheat it. You're going to see that, you know, there's a seal inside here. You turn the cap upside down, you push it in, and that breaks that seal. And then you squeeze it out. There's no pre-treatment like that cream for the Lowa. You squeeze it out, and you can see how tough this stuff is. It isn't as thick as the Snow Seal is, but you can see right away that this stuff is, I mean, this stuff means business. It is waxy feeling to me, even for a water base. I'm going to be honest with you, this smells like Snow Seal. You can see how it sticks. It doesn't run off. If I were doing this whole boot, I would use this little rag and then just really get it down into these seams. Now, according to Zamberlan, this is not going to be affecting the adhesive, and I think that's a big deal. The Zamberlan Hydrobloc really needs the brushwork. This stuff is so viscous that you're really going to have to get in here and hit those seams and really press it in. I just really get in there and I treat all of these areas with this brush, really just pressing around anywhere that there's a penetration and getting it back up in there. With this Lowa, where, you know, they want you to let it dry. The spray must dry for at least 24 hours. I guess they're thinking it's going to soak in for a day or something. But anyway, you get the idea with the brush. And then, so I have my little rag that I'm going to go back in here. And with this Zamberlan Hydrobloc, they want you to take all this excess off here. And I want to take the tape off. But anyway, so once we've done that, so anyway, you can see that up close, once I've taken the tape off, this is the Zamberlan side, this is the Lowa side. The Zamberlan side, you've got this film that, you know, I could buff on it and buff on it and buff on it. It's still going to have that shiny coat that's going to repel the water. The Lowa material has just sucked right into the leather, and there's basically no visible resistance to water going into this leather. And I'm here to tell you, after walking with these Zamberlan boots in the water, that the water's just going to go right in. So you're going to see these boots get wet right before your very eyes if you're walking in water. So this is the Zamberlan side. You can see the difference right here where the tape was. And this is the Lowa side.